Welcome back, everybody. So today we are simply trying to get back to the main point of the issue with this bike was that once it got hot, it dies. So it idles, and then once it gets hot, it starts puttering and sputtering. The idle's strange. Pretty much all symptomatic, I think, from a car. If you look at it from a car perspective, that there is a vacuum leak. Now, because of the condensed nature of the system, it's a little bit harder to do some tests on it because of the airbox. Unfortunately, the airbox itself has to be completely removed before we can look at the throttle bodies and do any type of testing. So I was thinking what I would do is I would try to do my best to seal up both ends of the airbox and then try to do a smoke test that way just to see what happens. Okay, so I think I can say that the smoke test was a success. Of course, there's no way I'm going to be able to, seal this completely up. The smoke's always going to find a way out. I'm just using tape. It's going to go out the passageway of least resistance. Anyway, I ended up hooking up to one of these ports, and that seemed to work real well. If you watch this one, it says number 3. So it actually goes down below into the combustion, like probably above the crank, not the crank, the intake manifold. So if I open it up, throttle, you can see the smoke pouring right out of there. So once it's closed, I don't really see anything else. If I close this up, open up the throttle, no smoke was coming out other than the smoke coming from the side intakes of the airbox itself. So I think that means we don't have any vacuums or start vacuum leaks, and we'll, at this point, I'm going to have to go and begin tearing this box apart, pull this off so we can get a better look at the throttle bodies, and just recheck everything. Recheck all the electrical connections, everything I can, to see if we can figure out what's going on. So I had my suspicions, essentially, about what could possibly be going on with this. Now, I was thinking that the bike ran perfectly before I spun a bearing, right? Right. And when I got the new engine, the engine was verified to be okay by the seller. So all this stuff is taken from my original bike. So the original injectors, everything is from the bike. It just took off of my old engine, put on the new engine, all the sensors and everything else. So I didn't think it could be a sensor issue. Deep down, I've always thought maybe I messed something up on the wiring harness. So unfortunately, I do have there's a shop manual you can buy for your most BMWs. So I do have this one, but there's no specific wiring diagram that I can find. So there are like some repair and stuff like that, but it just kind of tells you how to do this and that, but it's not real specific in the wiring. So one thing I did find was I always had an issue with this one wire, and this was stretching very, very tightly to get to, I believe they call it the SLS valve. It's a secondary air valve that basically with this pushes air into the exhaust. I think it's for emissions purposes. So it was always very, very hard to plug this in. Okay. Now this plug, unfortunately, is not unique. If you look down way down here, in fact, I'll show you on the old engine. Here's the old engine. You'll notice right here, that is a knock sensor. There's two knock sensors on the engine. So notice they have the same kind of connector. Okay. So I was looking everywhere on the internet to find a picture of the SLS valve connected to something so I could see the wiring code, the color coding, right? I couldn't find it anywhere until I found one random PDF. I think it was installing a piggyback or something. Anyway, they did have a picture of it. The airbox was disassembled or gone, and there was this one wire sitting like right here, kind of in the same place where the SLS valve is. The interesting thing was, it was actually right here. It was this color code. It was blue and yellow. Okay. Now if you look, oh, you can plug stuff in all day right here, right? But where was this? Now originally this was plugged down at the other knock sensor. Now there's two other issues we have. This wire, this plug rather, there's two of these plugs. There's one here, and then there's, so basically there's two plugs that look like this. There's this plug, okay, and this plug was plugged into the, I believe it's an idle control valve. Okay, this plug was plugged in to this idle actuator. Okay, so what I did is I unplugged it at this from here, and when you do that, it gives you all this extra room for activities to plug stuff in. So when I was questioning this was, well, how on earth could you plug this, because this was plugged into the knock sensor, okay? So how could you have this plug in over here if this was plugged into there? So that's why I said, okay, I must have made a mistake. And so when I unplug that, it all goes nice and fine over here. And then this one can now go back or go to the idle control solenoid here, which then frees this up to go back to the knock sensor. Okay. So I don't know. All I can say is always take pictures of your wiring harnesses before you take it apart, or have some type of reference material that you can go back to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange the wiring so it's not all over the place, and then plug it into where I think it actually does go. Reinstall the airbox and fire it up. Okay, that was the hard part. Luckily, all these hoses are labeled, so you can't really mess this part up. Alright, I'm starting to get pretty excited. So I'm going to go ahead and open the garage, move the tank back over here, plug it in, and we'll see how it goes. Oh, and I'll probably put the battery on too. Okay. Here goes nothing. So, right now, it doesn't sound any different, except something just opened the air box and making a louder noise, so something actuated that it wasn't actuating before. So that's good. So now we'll just wait until it gets to operating temperature, and if we're successful, we won't have any pops or hesitation. It should just idle like normal and go down to its low idle speed. I should be able to rev it with no issues. So the idle is already going down, which it didn't like this before. It's running very smooth, and it's probably to the temperature that it used to be when it started having issues. So far so good. Beautiful. If you recall the last video, the fuel pump video, it would float. It would go, be very hesitant and slowly come back down. It immediately comes back down. Idle control valve's working. It's pumping it up and then lowering it slowly. Very excited, guys. I can't believe it. It's actually fixed. I've been wanting to get this bike working for so long. It's just been this like weight on my back for literally coming to 3 years. Just watching the bikes, watching it in disarray. Like I said, this is a really fun bike. I really liked it. My favorite bike. Well, now I have to, of course, try to remember how to put it all back together. I do have the service manual, which does talk about that. So I gotta get all my parts that are been moved around, get it back together, all that fun, lengthy project stuff, tidy it up. I'm gonna do an oil change on it because it's been a while, even though it hasn't really ran, it's just sat, and get the fairings buttoned up, do a nice cleaning on it, and then I'll do a quick little update video so you guys can see what it looks like, and there you go. So it turned out to be something stupid, human error, not perfect. I'm glad that's all it was. It's a lot cheaper of an option to just have some wires crossed. But it just takes, you know, it's a lesson that you just need to really pay attention, take pictures, go back with a fine-tooth comb, especially when you have such a tight, cluster of wiring. It was always nagging me in the back of the head why it was so tight, and that's why. You should just listen to that voice. So I'm really happy about this, getting this done. So that being said, appreciate you watching. So what's up next? I'm probably gonna go back to the FD. There's a lot of work I have to do on that. I need to do things like the hood. The fuel latch has to be fixed. I need to run a new cable for the hood release. There's interior pieces, just all sort of buttoning up that we need to do on the FD.
this is just one example. I got some interior pieces from a good friend I met in the ARC-7 community. He's actually very closely associated with Garage Alpha. If you haven't heard of Garage Alpha and you have an FD, you can check them out. They have a lot of good parts that are just like no-brainers. Like they think about what's out there and they, you know, make it. So check them out. This wasn't from Garage Alpha, this is just from someone associated with it. And he hooked me up with these, which is really, really good condition. The ones I have are cut at the bottom. So they probably have racing seats in there at some point, and so now I can kind of get it back so it doesn't look all chopped up inside. This is just one example of all the things that we have coming. But I really need your support. Please like the videos. The more you like a video, that impacts the algorithms, and then the more a video is liked, then it gets put out to people's feeds, and then the more people can watch it, and the more successful I can try to be at this and try to invest more time into it. You know, making content really excites me, so I really appreciate you watching. And you know, I only want to try to go up because that's really the only way to go with this. But yeah, so more exciting things to come. I have lots of other plans, maybe do some car meets and stuff like that, more in the ARC-7 community. So there's just so many things we can do. But thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and then if you didn't notice, I rebranded to Mike's Mad Fix. It sounded cool. And it's pretty cool. Maybe I'll get a t-shirt or something. I don't know. We'll see.